Hello there, I have something I want to share with you today. I recently had somebody ask me what it is that I keep around me while I'm sewing. I completely redid my entire sewing room, like pretty much scrapped it out to nothing and redid it. Check those videos out if you haven't. If you aren't familiar with my channel, my name is Kristen. I have a blog and a YouTube channel where I share tips, tricks, and tutorials for the modern quilter. So today I'm going to share with you what I have with me while I'm sewing. So here is my sewing table. I like to keep it all nice and clear while I'm working. I do have a few things up top here. I have my sewing machine, which is underneath here. I have back here, back behind it, I have some pins. I have this little cloth basket here that has a ton of clips in it. Whoops. And a paper. And it also has a pin that should go over here, but was not. There we go. This is just a scrap basket right here. It's got little bits and pieces of scrap fabric. And then I have one of these that is, I'm not really sure what they're called, but it's like an organizer thing, but it's kind of a flexible plastic that I keep pins, pencils. I have a seam ripper and like a crochet hook and some other fabric markers here. This right here is a lamp that opens up just like that. There's a side view of it, and it's really helpful while I'm sewing. Boom, there we go. Didn't mean to blind you there. There's a lot of light that comes out of it. I also have my thread stand here, as well as I like to use these really big rolls of thread when I am sewing because there is plenty to go and I don't have to worry about it running out. So as for the rest of it, it's all blank. Now I do have this right here. This is an Alex drawer set from IKEA. Now the bottom one has like files and other like business things in it, you know, homework papers and whatnot. This top drawer is probably my most used drawer. Now I keep bobbins in lots of different colors in here. As you can see, there's like all kinds of different ones. I have an extra thing of thread here. I keep this fabric turner. I always forget what that thing's called, but I keep that in here, as well as my thread cutters. This is really good for like when I'm standing up at the table working, and it's just little thread snips. Now in these, I like to use these drawer organizers. They're just from Target, and they're kind of like a, I don't think they're quite silicone, but just more of a, they're like a flexible-ish plastic. But chopstick, I keep that for turning out corners and stuff. This is my favorite seam ripper. If you have not seen this, it's called a Seam Fix, but it has this like kind of a rubbery side to it, and it really helps pull out your threads after you've ripped them, so you don't have any like little strand bits of thread hanging out. This is my favorite seam ripper. I always have it right here next to me. I have some extra needles in here as well for whenever one pops or whatever. You know, I have some lipsticks for whenever that gets fancy. I also have a measuring tape. This is just, it's a very simple one, but it does its job. And then it zips back in there and is nice and compact. I also keep in here some of these little measuring gauges, just so I can make sure that my seams are exactly what they're supposed to be if I've gotten sloppy or things aren't quite working out. So I always keep some lotion in here next to me for my hands for if they get a little bit dry while I'm sewing. This one is called Ain't That the Youth. It's a very good smelling one. Ooh, these tools. So they're really tiny, and these are kind of like if you remember back in school when you're starting to learn how to write and you get the little pencil grips, that's kind of what these feel like. But these tiny screws are super highly magnetized. So when you're cleaning out your sewing machine and you have to take off your sewing machine plate, these are really helpful, and they actually like stand up very well in the threads. They're tiny, so you're not having to get like a big bulky screwdriver in there. If you're changing the needle on your sewing machine, they stay nice and straight. They get into those little areas, and I love them. Oh my gosh, it's so cold in here. It's like, God, I think it's in the 40s or 50s today or something, but I live in Texas, right? So it might get like warm again tomorrow, and I'm debating on whether or not I should actually turn on my heat or if I should just suffer through because tomorrow's going to be air conditioning weather. I don't know. God, it's so cold in here though. I have quilting gloves in case I need them. This is a cutter that I use for my half square triangles if I sew them all in like a chain stitch. And then over here I have all of my sewing machine feet. So this is the walking foot, and then, you know, the rest of them are down in there. Lots of sewing machine feet and cleaning brushes. And then back here I have some extra quilting pins if what I have over there in my pin cushion is not enough. And there's a few other like crafty things in the back here, but mostly like this I use to dust with a lot. That's really all it's for. Moving to the next drawer that I get into quite often is yet another pin cushion because I love pin cushions. I also have some safety pins here for when I'm quilting. I have mascara wands, which I will show you what I do with those in a different tutorial. And this organizer here, I have silicone thimbles. They're really soft, but they're actually strong and they work really, really well. I also have these that are good for gripping the thread while you're doing handwork. This one is mostly just my my fix-it bucket. Okay, so I have some liquid stitch, I have some Sharpies, I have X-Acto knife, as well as I have my chalk marker in here as well, and freight check. So just little things that I don't need to get into very often, but they're there if I need them. And then spinning around right here, this is where I cut all of my fabric, and I use this as well as right here, stored right on the side, is my ironing table. So I can just pull that out, pop it up on here, or I can use this area next to my sewing machine if I want it down just a little bit more at like work level. This one is a counter height, and this one is a table height. So I can put my cutting mat or my ironing mat. That's also why I like to have a really clean, clear workspace. So here is my sewing machine set up, ready to sew. What I have is this table right here, makes it a little bit longer and easier for me to sew with and quilt with as well. This is the Janome 3160 QDC. I really like this machine and the size of it. This right here is my straight stitch guide. So I always have this on my machine. It is, to me, it is essential for making sure that I have, here's your 1/8 inch seam, your 1/4 inch seam, 3/4 inch seam, and then your 1 inch seam. So each one of these lines makes it easier. This pink line right here lines up with exactly where my needle is, and I've got my 1/4 inch foot on here right now. The pink line lines up exactly where my needle is, and then I know by following my fabric which line I follow is how big my seam is going to be. Now I have this right here, as well as I have this down here that matches up exactly. So depending on how long my fabric is, and then there's even one in the back. So if I'm holding my fabric back here and holding it up here and holding it straight and lining up with these, then I know that my seams are going to be straight. And that's pretty much it. I try and keep it very minimal while I'm sewing. Like I said, it's important to me to have a lot of space while I'm working so that I can have room to move around. Things need to go different places and move and be able to shift whenever I need them to. But I do like having access to my tools as well. You don't want to have to go and get up and go look for your seam ripper, right? So you want to have it right there within reach. Drawers are really, really good for that, as well as the tabletop organizers that I showed you. Keep things contained but within reach. I think that is the main goal that that I strive for while I'm working, is I want things contained but within reach. So I hope that kind of gave you maybe a little bit of some inspiration or some ideas on how you can store the things that you need close to you while you're sewing. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down below. I try and get to every comment. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe. If you hit the little bell after the subscribe, that'll send you a notification every time I post new content, so you won't ever miss any of my tips and tricks, because I try and share the best of them with you. My name is Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com, and I will talk to you soon. Happy sewing. Bye.